The Bush administration insists that illegal weapons will be found in Iraq. It's just a matter of finding the right source of information.
Karen?
Well, Angela and Dennis Lee obviously thought Atlanta would be a good place to hide, and it was for a while. He was able to blend in, make some new friends, and actually preach the gospel. A fresh round of tornado warnings tonight across portions of Indiana, Missouri, and Illinois. This after a record-breaking week of severe weather in the nation's heartland. Take a look at this video. But he ended up becoming a trustee out here at Troop L in Mandeville until officials here say he decided to escape by stealing a state police car. A police car loaded with 3 weapons. What did you do for your mom?
Usually I'm pretty much in that first category, a little late, but this year got him tickets to a Broadway show. Bought him a month ago, so
very
I was on
fancy.
time this year. Very good.
Yeah, I gave my mom a teacup.
Very nice.
It was double header day at Zephyr Field. We'll see if the Z's could take 2 from Colorado Springs. Talking NBA basketball, the Pistons misfiring in Philly.
Ooh, I like that. 76 had all the answers tonight.
Well, you know, Dennis, the new year means a whole lot of different things to a whole lot of different people. But for a lot of visitors to our city tonight, for them, it's all about bragging rights. We'll be out here all evening long to let you know how things go. Whoops, just got hit by bees myself. They got me, and they're pretty proud about it.
Good evening, I'm Mike Hoss.
I'm Karen Carlson. Tropical Storm Claudette has stalled out for the moment.
But when she starts moving again, she's expected to keep west of us. John Gum is in the Weather Center with the very latest. John?
In a few minutes.
All right, thanks a lot, John. Well, the active hurricane watch zone, as he just mentioned, is from Port O'Connor, just north of Corpus Christi, to Brownsville, Texas. That's a U.S. watch where residents are bracing for Claudette's landfall. We now join Stacey Case, who's live in Port Isabel, Texas, a suburb of Brownsville, with what they're doing to prepare. Stacey? 5 families are homeless tonight after a major 3-alarm fire uptown. The fire started just before 10:30 last night in the 1300 block of Britannia. Firefighters on the scene say the second floor sustained heavy damage. The building contained 8 apartments, but only 3 were occupied. Luckily, no one was injured. Now, while the fire department investigates the cause, the Red Cross is helping those displaced families find a place to stay. A theme park ride where a woman died last week is now reopened with some new safety features. Rosa Donaldson was killed Wednesday after being struck by the moving arms of the Joker's Jukebox ride. A spokeswoman at Six Flags New Orleans says the ride now has 2 new improvements for the operator, including mirrors to see between the ride's arms and a loudspeaker. The ride was shut down after the accident but reopened this morning.
It was a grand arrival at the Port of New Orleans as the Carnival Conquest returned back to its home base this morning.
The city of Gulfport bid farewell to the ship last weekend, and today the Conquest sailed into New Orleans for the first time in 18 weeks. April Commodore is here with more on that story. April?
All right, April, thanks very much.
Well, still to come on Eyewitness News at 5:30. More reaction about President Bush's false claim in his State of the Union address. Coming up, hear why cabinet members say it's all much ado about nothing.
A new audio tape emerges, threatening new attacks against American interests.
And a little later, why it may now be safer than ever to fly the friendly skies. A new council is now in place in Iraq, representing a broad group of leaders, with the notable exception of Saddam Hussein supporters. The inauguration of 25 members of that council was held today in Baghdad. The council's first public action to set April 9th, the day Baghdad fell to U.S. forces, as a national holiday, and to ban 6 celebrations important to Saddam and the Ba'ath Party. Leadership of the group will be selected Monday. But outside of that celebration, there are new threats coming tonight from Al-Qaeda. A group claiming to be linked to the terrorist network made the threats in an audio tape aired on an Arab television station. The unidentified man in this video urged the U.S. to leave Iraq immediately and also warned of new attacks on American interests in coming days. No word yet if the tape is authentic.
Airline accidents last year were minor.
That's comforting to know.
That is good news. Ahead in sports, Archie Manning tells us what he thinks about the Saints' chances this year.
Plus, it's showtime for the U.S. women against Brazil. Lee Zurich is up next with a look at sports.
Rookie this year.
Yeah, tour rookie of the senior tour, exactly.
Thanks, Lee.
Thanks, Lee. Well, as we keep a close eye on Claudette, John's watching our own weather here.
He's back with more on what we can expect for the work week next.
Well, the good news is Claudette won't be affecting our weather here too much.
Yeah, no big effects for us.
That's good news.
All right.
Thanks,
John. And we're back with a preview of Night Watch right after this.
Coming up new tonight on Night Watch, she might have been rough and tough on the field, but a former New Orleans Saint is getting in touch with his gentler side with a whole new career. Eric Paulson reintroduces us to a kinder Brad Edelman.
And adults and children alike crowded Tad Gormley Stadium today for their chance to see the women's soccer champ, Mia Hamm. We'll show you how the athlete has become a role model to hundreds of little girls all across our area. That and much more, new on Night Watch.
Well, people got a little taste of everything today over at the Astro Crown Plaza Hotel.
25 local chefs prepared some of their finest dishes for the annual Taste of the Nation fundraiser benefiting the homeless. Organizers say the event has raised over $42 million since it began in 1988. That would have been a nice place to be today.
Good food, a good event.
They wouldn't
good
have let
vino.
me go, though, with all that
right,
wine there.
Exactly. That's our news. Thanks for watching.
We hope to see you again on Night Watch.
Derek Lee arrived in Baton Rouge from Atlanta, where he made his first court appearance.
Karen Carlson is live in Atlanta with more on the story there. Karen?
Well, Angela and Dennis, Lee obviously thought Atlanta would be a good place to hide, and it was for a while. He was able to blend in, make some new friends, and actually preach the gospel. But while he was making these new friends, we've learned it could have been somebody very close to him who was ultimately his undoing.
All right, bring out Mr. Lee.
A hush falls over the courtroom as Superior Court Judge Richard Hicks calls for him. Derek Todd Lee, the man accused of plotting the brutal murders of at least 5 Louisiana women. In shackles, he inches his way into the courtroom. It is the first time most people here have laid eyes on him in person, and the first time to hear him speak.
Do you want to waive and go back, or do you want to require the governor of Louisiana to send their warrant?
I'm ready to go back.
You want to waive and go back?
Yes.
All right, I'll sign the order. All right, so I understand they're here and ready to take you back, so have a good trip.
Awesome.
As he waives his right to fight extradition, Lee is carried off to face murder charges in Louisiana. He sits slumped in the sheriff's vehicle. And while he leaves Atlanta, we learn more about what he was doing here. Roosevelt Jones says he first met Lee a week ago near the Greyhound bus station. It was then, he says, that Lee struck up a conversation with him.
I'm new in town. Look for work and a place to live.
So Jones led Lee here to the Lakewood Motor Lodge, where he lived for several days. And what may have been the break for police in his Atlanta whereabouts, phone calls made on this man's phone.
225.
Lee made 2 calls from Batacuti Idyllica's cell phone on Monday. One, he says, to his wife, the other to his girlfriend. It was then police suspect Lee learned he had become suspect number 1, which is about the time officials began to suspect Lee was in Atlanta.
We think a relative of someone that he had talked to earlier during the day, he indicated that he was either in Atlanta or he was heading to Atlanta.
Upon learning he was a wanted man, Lee hitched a ride to this MARTA train station. And the man who took him there, the very one who brought him to his hideaway home and found him a job. Roosevelt Jones says his parting words are those he'll never forget. So what happened the day that he asked for you to give him a ride?
Oh, he just told me to give him a ride. His mother was sick. He had to go make a detour, make a stop. Told him to go out and off, and then he said he's going to catch the bus out of here.
Did he say anything out of the ordinary?
No, just moving fast. So he killed someone.
He told you he killed someone?
Yeah. And, after that, we went our different ways.
Now, I asked Roosevelt Jones in our exclusive interview whether or not Lee had said anything else, if he admitted to killing anyone else. He said no, that Lee's exact words were, quote, "I killed someone." Now, once police learned that Lee was in the area, it certainly didn't take long to track him down and send him back to Louisiana. I'm Karen Carlson reporting live from Atlanta, Georgia, Channel 4 Eyewitness News.
With 2003 less than 7 hours away, New Orleans is gearing up for a party in the French Quarter. Our Karen Carlson is live at Jackson Square with a preview. Karen?
Well, you know, Dennis, the new year means a whole lot of different things to a whole lot of different people. But for a lot of visitors to our city tonight, for them, it's all about bragging rights.
Hoping for a good game tomorrow, and we're going to hopefully demolish the Seminoles.
Seminoles win 21-17.
There's a lot of Seminole and Bulldog spirit out here. For some, 2003 is all about the Sugar Bowl. But regardless of why visitors are here today, they and some locals have a big night ahead of them in Jackson Square. Now, you can see the crowd starting to form even this early in the evening. The sound stage has been set up here. Crews arrived at about 6 o'clock this morning, but preparations for tonight started months ago.
Being that it's New Year's,
logistically wise, downtown in the heart of the French Quarter. So you have to deal with permits, traffic, staging. It's work.
Work for them, fun for us. Here's a look at tonight's lineup. The Paulin Brothers Brass Band will kick things off. Freddie Omar, that's a Latin group, will be after that. Sun Pie and the Louisiana Sunspots, that's a Zydeco group, and that'll start out here. Of course, the ball drop at Jack's Brewery. All eyes will be up there as midnight approaches. We'll have more at 6 o'clock. I'm Karen Carlson reporting live from the French Quarter, Channel 4 Eyewitness News.
All right, Karen, sounds like a lot of fun tonight.
Late this afternoon, they made the tragic discoveries. Karen Carlson reports.
The search spanned 2 days for a missing plane carrying 2 New Orleanians. Rescue crews always had hope, but late this afternoon, Mississippi officials changed their mission from rescue to recovery.
One of the helicopters located the fuselage finally after we'd found some pieces this morning, but we did find it. We have recovered 2 bodies.
The single-engine plane was piloted by this man, Dominic Riso, a well-known Jefferson Parish businessman. His passenger, a family friend, 31-year-old Holly Sasick. He traveled north on business. She was visiting family and just hitching a ride. The last time Holly's husband heard from her yesterday morning as the plane prepared to leave Indiana.
She said that she wanted to have a late lunch because they'd be flying in around lunchtime yesterday. And if she didn't get a chance to come out there for an early lunch, that she'd be there for a late lunch. She'd be there for an early dinner. So, and that's the last that I heard from her.
We talked to him before word broke that she'd been found. Then Mike Sasick was optimistic and hopeful of seeing his bride and good friend safely returned.
There's no doubt in my mind that if they're in a position where all they have to do is just keep themselves alive, they can do it.
The plane was scheduled to land here at Millionaire at Lakefront Airport yesterday afternoon, but they encountered heavy weather and asked for permission to land in Jackson.
You don't want to be anywhere in this area here at all.
Experienced pilot and Millionaire Vice President Addie Fanguy has a plane similar to the one Riso and Sasick were traveling in. He says smaller planes like these are maneuverable, but many don't have radar detection systems that warn against storms.
They're good aircraft. They're well built. They really are, and they do take a lot, but it's like everything else, weather is a very difficult issue to get grasp of.
And now there may be no way to get a grasp of what happened for the families of the 2 who died. Riso leaves behind 3 daughters. For Sasick, daughter Whitney and her loving husband, who never lost hope of having her home.
She always makes people around her think in a positive fashion. She's always been, very sincere.
And we've also learned the National Transportation Safety Board is sending an investigator to Mississippi to learn more about the crash, and an FAA investigator is expected on the scene any time now. But at this point, Angela, all we know about the crash is that it happened during some pretty severe weather.
Very, very sad.
Very sad day.